Hello guys, let's start our book, The Magic of Thinking Big. Now let's start our reading. In answering the question, should your child be a scientist? Dr. Edward Teller, one of the nation's foremost physicists, said, a child does not need a lightning fast mind to be a scientist, nor does he need a miraculous memory, nor he is necessary that he get very high grades in school. The only point that counts is that the child have a high degree of interest in science. Interest, enthusiasm is a critical factor even in science. With a positive, optimistic, and cooperative attitude, a person with an IQ of 100 will earn more money, win more respect, and achieve more success than a negative, pessimistic, uncooperative individual with an IQ of 120. Just enough sense to stick with the something, a score, a task, project until its complete pays off much better than idle intelligence, even if idle intelligence be of a genius caliber. For stickability is 95% of ability. Again, I want to read this. For stickability is 95% of ability. Wow. At a homecoming celebration last year, I met a college friend whom I had not seen for 10 years. Chuck was a very bright student and was graduated with honors. His goal when I last saw him was to own his own business in western Nebraska. I asked Chuck what kind of business he finally established. Well, he confessed, I did not go into business for myself. I wouldn't have said this to anyone 5 years ago or even 1 year ago, but now I am ready to talk about it. As I look back at my college education, now I see that I became an expert in why a business idea won't work out. I learned every conceivable pitfall, every reason why small business will fail. You've got to have ample capital. Be sure the business cycle is right. Is there a business big demand, or what you will offer? Is local industry stabilized? 1001 thing to check out. The thing that hurts most is that several of my old high school friends who never seemed to have much on the ball and did not even go to college now are very established in their own businesses. But me, I'm just plodding along auditing freight shipments. Had I been drilled a little more in why a small business can succeed, I'd be better off in every day today. The thinking that guided Chuck intelligence was a lot more important than the amount of Chuck intelligence. Why some brilliant people are failures. I've been close for many years to a person who qualifies as a genius, as high abstract intelligence and is Phi Beta Kappa. Despite this very high native intelligence, he is one of the most unsuccessful people I know. He has a very mediocre job. He is afraid of responsibility. He has never married. A lot of marriages end in divorce. He has few friends. People bore him. He is never invested in property of any kind. He might lose his money. This man uses his great brain power to prove why things won't work rather than directing his mental power to searching for ways to succeed. Because of negative thinking that guides his great reservoir of brains, this fellow contributes little and creates nothing. With a changed attitude, he could do great things indeed. He has the brains to be tremendous success but not thought power. Another person I know well was inducted into the army shortly after earning the PhD degree from a leading New York university. How did he spend his 3 years of the army? Not as an officer, not as staff specialist. Instead, for 3 years he drove a truck. Why? Because he was filled with negative attitude toward fellow soldiers. I am superior to them. Toward many army methods and procedures, they are stupid. Toward discipline, it's for others, not me. Toward everything, including himself. I am a fool for not figuring out a way to escape this trap. This fellow earned no respect from anyone. All his vast knowledge of knowledge lay buried. He negative attitudes turn into in a flunky. Remember, the thinking that guides your intelligence is much more important than how much intelligence you have. Not even a PhD degree can override this basic successful principle. Several years ago, I became a close friend of Phil F., one of the senior officers of major advertising agency. Phil was director of marketing research for the agency and he was doing a bang-up job. Was Phil a brain? Far from it. Phil knew next to nothing about a research technique. He knew next to nothing about statistics. He was not a college graduate, though all the people working for him were. And Phil did not pretend to know the technical side of research. What then enabled Phil to command $30,000 a year while not in a subordinates earned $10,000? This Phil was a human engineer. Phil was 100% positive. Phil could inspire others when they felt low. Phil was enthusiastic. He generated enthusiasm. Phil understood people, and because he could really see what made them tick, he liked them. Not Phil's brain, but how he managed those brains made him 3 times more valuable to his company than a man who rated higher on the IQ scale. Out of every 100 persons who enroll in college, fewer than 50 will graduate. I was curious about this, so I asked the director of admissions at a large university for his explanation. It's not insufficient intelligence, he said. We don't admit them if they don't have sufficient ability. And it's not money. Anyone who wants to support himself in college today can do so. The real reason is attitudes. You would not be surprised, he said. How many young people leave because they don't like their professors, subjects they must take, and their fellow students? The same reason negative thinking explains why doors to top flight executive position is closed to many young junior executives. So negative, pessimistic, depreciating attitudes rather than insufficient intelligence hold back thousands of young executives. As one executive told me, it's a rare case when we pass up a young fellow because he lacks brain. Nearly always it's attitude. Once I was retained by an insurance company, learned why the top 25% of the agents were selling over 75% of insurance while bottom 25% of the agents sold only 5% of total volume. The thousands of personal files were carefully checked. The search proved beyond any question that no significant difference existed in native intelligence. What's more, differences in education did not explain difference in selling success. The difference in very successful and very unsuccessful finally reduced to differences in the attitudes or difference in thought management. The top group worried less, was more enthusiastic, had a sincere liking for people. We can't do much to change the amount of native ability, but we can certainly change the way we use what we have. Knowledge is power when you use constructively. Thank you so much, guys. Let's meet in the next video, next chapter, next pages, next 5 pages. Thank you so much, and learn a lot and believe in yourself.